A woman and her daughter moved into a new house. The mother worked a lot, so it was up to the girl to do the household chores, including the laundry. One day, the girl went down to the laundry room and put in a load of clothes. When she came back, the door to the washing machine had already been lifted open. "That's weird," she said to herself. "I thought I closed it." She shrugged it off, but the next time she did laundry, it happened again. And that's not all. Each time it happened, one piece of her clothing would go missing. One time it was a sock, the next a pair of shorts, and so on. After a few weeks, she went down to the laundry room again to find a complete outfit set out for her, with all the clothes that had been missing. An executive went on a business trip for her company. When she arrived at the hotel, she got the key card for her room, 213, and went straight up. She was exhausted and couldn't wait to sit down, but her key card didn't work. She went down to complain to the front desk and promptly got a new card. That one didn't work either. Just as she was storming off to go back to the lobby, the door to her room creaked open. A little boy had opened the door, and he was standing in the dark. She went to the front desk again. "There's another family in my room," she said to the man. "No, that's impossible," he said. "No one has checked in but you." It was 9 o'clock, time for the store to close. Valerie, Ginny, and Kelly were the only ones working. As they were cleaning up the store, a pile of shirts fell to the floor. None of the girls touched it. "It's probably the ghost," Ginny said. "Very funny," said Kelly. "No, really," Valerie replied. "He's a little boy. He likes to play." Kelly still didn't take them seriously, though. She thought they were teasing her because she was younger. But when she went into the back room to get her keys to go home, she saw a flash of a young boy in the mirror next to her. When she looked back, her keys had been placed on the floor. The carnival came to town every summer, and this year was no different. But Charlie had just started working there, so he didn't know what the rest of the workers knew about the Ferris wheel he was in charge of operating. The first night of the carnival was bustling with people, but as it came time to close, it was practically a ghost town. However, there was one boy who showed up at the last minute. "One for the Ferris wheel, please," the boy said, giving Charlie a ticket. Charlie looked around. "Where are your parents?" he asked the little boy. The boy just took his seat and didn't answer. Unsure of what to do, he let the boy go on the ride. But when the ride was over, the boy was no longer in his seat. Charlie ran to his boss to tell him the story. The boss casually said, "Oh, that's Thomas." He handed Charlie a clipping from an old newspaper. It had the boy's picture and the headline, "Boy falls from Ferris wheel, 8 years old." 3 little girls were having a sleepover one night when they decided to try to host a seance. One of the girls, Clara, recently lost her grandpa and wanted to see if she could commune with his spirit. The 3 girls gathered some candles and a few items that belonged to the late grandfather, his watch, his cigar case, and a photograph of him. The girls held hands and started the seance. Suddenly, the candles began to flicker and the hands on the watch began to spin. Clara was sure it was her grandpa. Elated, she began to talk to him and ask him questions, when all of a sudden one of the candles flew, as if by some invisible force, and almost hit her head. "Grandpa would never do that," she said, shaking. She was right. It wasn't her grandpa, and whoever it was clearly did not like being disturbed. 2 young men in their 20s, Josh and Dan, went on a camping trip together in a desert in New Mexico. They didn't take much with them besides sleeping bags, food, and materials for a fire. After they cooked their dinner, they fell asleep as they gazed up into the starry night sky. The beauty and peace of the trip were short-lived, however. In the early dark hours of the morning, Josh was startled awake by what sounded like Dan's voice, but frantic. The voice said, "Come here quick, look." Sleepy and confused, Josh got up to see what his friend was talking about. He heard again, "Come here quick, look." It sounded unnatural, a perfect repetition. Josh took a few steps forward, and then someone grabbed him from behind. He turned around to see Dan with his finger in front of his mouth, warning Josh to keep quiet. They rolled up their sleeping bags and left. They still don't know who, or what, was trying to lure Josh away into the desert. There was once a man named Edward who designed and built his own perfect house. He lived in it for many years until he eventually passed away. A new family soon moved in, but whenever they went into the basement, where Edward's personal study had been, they would get the feeling that someone was watching them. One day, the father of the new family decided to fix up an old jacket which every tailor in town had told him was beyond repair. So he went down to the old study, laid his jacket on a chair, and then tried to see if there was anything in the old desk that could help him mend it. But the drawers were all locked, and he couldn't find a key anywhere. The next morning, he came back down to find the key on the desk, all of the drawers open, and his jacket completely fixed. Some people actively go out looking for ghost encounters, and every once in a while, they find one. When Kevin was a teenager, he and his friends had heard about a dangerous turn on the nearby highway that caused many accidents over the years. It was now haunted. The most well-known story was of a mother who took her own life after her son had crashed his car and died there. It was said around town that her ghost remained at the deadly turn to protect people from ending up like her deceased child. Kevin and his friends decided to put that theory to the test. At night, Kevin drove his friends out to the highway. When the group of boys arrived at the turn, they pulled over. They'd brought a bag of flour with them and proceeded to sprinkle the white powder on the road, the grass, and the car. The idea was to get footprints to prove that the ghost was indeed real. The boys hopped back in and began to take the car around the turn. Kevin accelerated faster and faster, and thump! The car came to an abrupt halt as if someone had slammed down on it with their own two hands. They immediately got out of the car and saw two woman-sized handprints in the white flour on the hood. A young bachelor at the beginning of his career became very successful very quickly, so he bought himself a house. One morning, he awoke to the sound of running water. He rushed to the bathroom and saw that the bathtub faucet was running on full blast. He was perturbed by this, as he lived alone. A week later, it happened again, only this time it wasn't just one faucet. It was all of the faucets in the house. The young man called a repairman to fix the pipes and the water damage. But as it turned out, the pipes weren't broken. The repairman, a local, seemed visibly shaken. "What's wrong?" the bachelor asked. "The woman who lived here before you," said the repairman. "She drowned in that bathtub." 4 young women moved into an old New England apartment together. You know, the type with squeaky floorboards and a long, dark hallway. A month after they moved in, one of the roommates realized that her favorite stuffed teddy bear was missing. The others all said they hadn't touched it or seen it. Weeks went by, and she almost forgot about her teddy when something strange happened. She opened the door to one of the closets they hardly ever used, and there on the top shelf sat her furry friend. All of her roommates swore they had no idea how it had happened. Now, whenever the teddy bear goes missing for a few days, she knows exactly where to find it.